Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to one of my end of the year videos. Yes, we're starting a bit early this year. Partially that's because I want to take the last week or so of the year off, so I'm getting some of these done early. I've now officially read all my most anticipated books of the year. So, there might be some that squeeze into some of these categories, but if not, I'll push them into the next year and that'll be just how it is. But today I'm bringing you a video that is sponsored by my channel members. If you don't know, I do have both a Patreon and channel members have been with me for quite a while. We're over 2 years now with some of my channel members, and it means so much to me. And one of the perks is that they get to pick a video that they want to make sure that I film, and then they are sponsoring it. And so I gave them some choices of what they wanted to sponsor, and they picked the best spice of the year, which I'm not surprised. However, I am putting kind of a twist on this. I've made books before that are books that have the most spice or the most steam, books that have my 5 chili pepper rating. But this is not the books that are the sexiest, the erotic, all of that. This is, to me, what the best spice, some of the best sex scenes written. And those might not be in books that are 5 chili peppers. For me, they're usually very emotional intimacy, stories that have really made me believe what's happening between the couple or throuple, or even more than that, which you'll see in a moment here. So I just want to be clear, this isn't one of my rec videos where I'm like, all of these are raunchy, dirty, nasty sex. Some of the sex is that, and again, we'll get to it. But for me, it's all sex scenes that really did more than just get my blood pumping. They touched my heart in some way. I don't have any problem with the former or the latter, but that's what to me the best spice of the year means. And so that also means that quite a few of my favorite books of the year are on this list. So just know that. But I actually only picked 8 for this one because when I was really diving into it, that's what I came up with. So we're going to go through these. And I'm actually starting with a why choose / polyamorous romance, and that surprised me. But this author really she definitely brought the heat. This one is a 5 chili pepper duet, but the emotions that I felt at different times were very much, it caught me off guard what I was getting from it. And so I'm talking about the Losers duet, or Losers Part 1 and Part 2 by Harley LaRue. Part 2 is coming out on the 9th of December, so I'm not sure when this video is releasing, but it will be out very soon. Part 1 is already out. And this is kind of a follow-up after The Dare, which was a spicy novella that took place when our characters were in high school, and Jessica was the high school cheerleader, and she was pretty mean to our group of losers, our group of misfits. But there was I think it was a Halloween party, or it might have just been a party. I can't quite remember that because I haven't read The Dare in quite a while. But our heroine lost she competed in a dare with Manson, and he has her do some sexy things for him and his friends. And it really kind of awakens something in her, but she's scared of it. She's also a popular girl. She doesn't think that it's good for her to be around these guys. And so she isn't. And she, has moved away. And when we come into Losers, she's back in town, staying at her home again with her parents. And Manson and his boys, Jason, Lucas, and Vincent, they own a mechanic shop together, and they're also in 2 different couples. I believe, and I'm sorry if I'm wrong, I believe it's Vincent and Jason, and Lucas and Manson are in couples, but they also will share with each other, and they will scene together sometimes, and they all live together. And Jessica ends up in their orbit again and gets herself in a little bit of trouble. and gets herself in a situation where she actually owes these guys a debt, and they want what they did with the dare. They want her to pay it off sexually, and she wants that. So this isn't her really being coerced. They're like, you're either going to find a way to pay for this, or you could pay for it this way, and she wants to do that. So just to be clear, there's no like coercion happening. There is CNC and like primal scenarios that happen in here, but it's all consensual with a safe word. We're all there. Hartley Leroux has extensive trigger warning and content warning lists, and most all of them have to do with kinkiness. The content warnings for me that like don't have to do with kinky things, which are actual like trigger warnings, is like the bullying, like reminiscing on the bullying that happened in the past, as well as Manson has a father who has come back to town, and he is hell-bent on kind of punishing his son for some things that happened in the past. So to me, those things were more like of a content warning to worry about than like the spicy things. But literally this had so many things, and I foresee that in some future taboo recs or some oddly specific recs, you will see this book show up, because they did a lot of things. Yeah, so next I have to share Heartless. This book's going to be on so many lists, not just mine, but like the entire like romance community. This book is going to show up on lists, okay? It is that good. The hype is that good. Even the people I've seen who maybe had a more lukewarm feeling to it, it was more for like personal reasons for it than for the story not being bad. Because like, in my opinion, this had one of the most like seamless, enjoyable, and like fun plots that I've read in a long time. And the reason that I have this on my best spice of the year is, so this one, it has the tropes. Like this one is age gap. The age gap's not really important, but it's a nanny, forced proximity. She's a live-in nanny for this cowboy who runs his family ranch, and he has a young son, and it's during the summer, and he needs a nanny to be with his son during the long days. And our heroine from the first book, Summer, she has a friend named Willa who is kind of looking for a change up in her life. And she has the opportunity to become this nanny, even though she's never worked with kids before. She just really connects with this little boy. And so our hero, he's very grumpy, Cade, and he kind of has some reasons too. Like, he has a lot of responsibility he's taken on, a lot of it without even being asked. Like, he just stepped up and he's done those things. And so he doesn't regret doing it, but he hasn't been able to do a lot of things for his own fun, for his own life. And when this nanny who gets recommended, you know, by his brother's girlfriend, he sees her and he's like, this girl is going to be such a temptation. She's going to be so much trouble. I don't want her in my house. But his son falls head over heels for her. And so what can the poor man do? Okay, he's got to give her a try. And again, the reason this is on my best spice is because this has not an overly slow burn. I mean, it feels like slow for the size of the book, but it's also like how they're getting to know each other and how like Willa and Cade are connecting in so many other ways before their sexual tension like bubbles over. And then, yeah, the spice is delicious and Cade has a dirty mouth, but the way that he like sees everything that she brings to his life, and his life is enriched by Willa in ways that he hasn't expected could happen, and the way that he sees a possibility of giving himself a chance at love, because he may have a son, but he was never in love with his son's mother. Like, he never really was, and he was kind of forced into that situation. And so this is the first chance of him to choose something good, and I just love seeing him get to come alive for the first time in a long time. He has someone who can share the responsibility with him and who gives him a choice about what he wants for his future. And so this book just hits all the lists for me. And like the spice in this, that when they connect, like it almost scares them. And I love reading shit like that. Like, guys, I just die for it. Hold on. Tried a new flavor of Alani and it's so good. It reminds me of cherry Kool-Aid, which I know, not the healthiest thing, but I just love these. Anyway, sorry, this isn't an advertisement for Alani, but I love it. Okay, next I have a fan fiction. Well, I have two fan fictions actually that I'm putting on this list. And one of them, I of course have this beautiful copy that Mel made for me. And that is Contradictions by Ampersand. This was only my, was this my second or third fic that I read? And it blew me away. Okay, it blew me away. I really should have made this a 6-star book as well, but you know what? It's okay. It's okay. This one is a Dramini fanfic. You can get it on AO3. It's a free download. You can get it on your Kindle. I have videos that do that. That's not what this is about, right? But this is a beautiful example of BDSM, and I have quite a few of those on this list. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. BDSM steamy scenes have so much more going on than just sex, and so that's what hits me when we talk about the best spice, because it brings out these feelings. Like, it engages my whole being when I'm reading a well done scene like this. Like, it means so much. So this one is a Dramini fanfic, if you can't tell by the cover. And this one has Hermione, who is really kind of like struggling in her sex life. She's never really felt satisfied. It's very difficult for her to shut her brain off. And she's been told that she's like broken by partners before because she's not able to, you know, engage in a way that they think is acceptable. And so, being Hermione and the big brain that she is, she does some research. And in her research, she discovers a bit more about the BDSM community and how a lot of women in, you know, who are very take charge in their real life, who are very busy minds, who are very, you know, I don't even know the words to use. I'm sorry, I'll stop. She discovers that BDSM could be something that could benefit her and help her to get out of her head. So she disguises herself and she signs up with this kink club that is for witches and wizards that will pair submissives and dominants in a very safe way. And so they're able to go to a place where like they're safe and no one knows, and they're able to do this. And so they go to this, and she agreed, like the dominant that she gets paired with based on her quiz, like sends her a little note and asks her to put on a blindfold because he likes to start his interviews with submissives that way, just so that there isn't any preconceived notions by what he looks like. And part of the reason that is that Draco Malfoy happens to be the dom, and he knows that he is a recognizable figure, and so he likes to, you know, kind of interview his submissives before that. And since Hermione hasn't spoken to him in a while, like I think it's been quite a while, even though I do think they both like work with the ministry. He does kind of like what's it called? Like only certain jobs, contract work for them and stuff like that. And so they go, and because she's disguised herself, he doesn't know who he's talking to. And so they talk and they discuss everything, and then he gets her off once. And when she takes off her blindfold, she sees who it is, and so she drops her illusion and he sees who it is, and so she books it out of there before he can even talk to her. She leaves before the scene is over, and it's done. And she's horrified. She's afraid he's going to tell people, and she's just so embarrassed that she even went. And I'm giving a lot of explanation for this one, but it's been a little while since I've talked about it, so I want to. And then Draco comes to see her at work the next day, and not to blackmail her like she's afraid he is, but to tell her that, you know, from our interview, like I do think that BDSM would be a good match for you. You should ask the club to set you up with someone else. And you can't leave before a scene is done. Your dominant needs to make sure that you are mentally okay, that you don't experience sub-drop. You can't just leave. And so he actually makes her do like aftercare with him the next day, which is, you know, checking in with her, seeing how her mental state is. It isn't just the cuddles and the pets, which are my favorite part of aftercare, but there is more to it than just the cuddles and the come down. Like, there are mental health checks that need to be done. And so he's very stern with her. And through the way that he acts and the way that they interact, she wants to see him again. And so they agree to try again. And what continues, and why this is on my best Steam of the year is because the kind of dom that Draco is, and the kind of understanding that he's able to come to with Hermione, the way that he helps her to explore herself, though she is pig-headed, though she does cause them strife that doesn't need to be there, it's all like her figuring it out, you know, and her not understanding even the parts of herself that she wants to be submissive with. And I love how this author did that. And that's why this is one of my favorite fics. And I think the Steam is absolutely beautiful. And I'll show you one piece of art. Nice, nice. It's beautiful. Mel has just designed a new cover for this. So she's going to send me a new cover to put over this, because this one's just paper. I'm so excited. Anyway. Then I have another fic. This one I just spoke about recently, so I won't go into as much heavy detail as I did for Contradictions. But I recently just read Coming Undone by One Equal Temper, and this one is a Sirius Black and Hermione Granger fic, and it was my first Sirius and Hermione. It definitely won't be the last. But this one is also BDSM, and this one is, it's a few years after everything. Like, the only real difference in this one to like the original timeline is that, well, I mean, there's a lot of difference, but like Sirius didn't die. He was able to be rescued, and like Ginny and Harry are together, but they're not married. Like, they're having a baby out of wedlock together. And Hermione has kind of been on like a sexual journey with herself. She's had a lot of like consorts, let's say. So she's been with like Neville, and she's been with Draco, but she's never like indicated that she wanted more than a sex buddy with them. And so this book actually, this fic actually begins with Draco kind of like ending their arrangement, and not in a like antagonistic way. Like, actually Draco and Hermione are friends through this whole book. And I actually really liked the view of like Draco as a friend, but he wants to settle down, and he has like hinted at Hermione that he wanted that with her, and she just never wanted more with him. And so he's like, okay, well, I need to move on then. Like, I want a family, and if I can't have that with you, then I want to date someone. I want to be with someone. And so she's kind of reeling from that, and like wondering why she like keeps people at a, you know, distance. And she has had some like, she's had a crush on Sirius, and she's supposed to be going to like Ginny and Harry's, and she accidentally goes to Grimmauld Place, and when she pops in through the flue, she sees Sirius and a woman kneeling at his feet with a collar on, and she is like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and she leaves, but she's very intrigued by what she saw. And so soon after that, Sirius has a talk with her and explains like, this is what was going on. Sometimes I have friends who I will scene with them and help them get out of their head. And in this fic, subspace is almost this like other place in your head. Like, I mean, I know that's what subspace can be, but it's even more. It's like magnified by the magic and stuff. So a witch or a wizard who submits really can like go to this other place mentally where they don't have a care in the world. And I really loved that in this one. And again, like, in the way that a lot of BDSM romances do, I really loved how Sirius was able to help her understand herself better. I loved how great of a communicator he was. I love how he made every scene special and beautiful for her. And I loved how their relationship developed. And their steamy times in this were so beautiful. Like, I have such a crush on this Sirius. Like, I'm not even kidding you. He was so sexy because he's like got silverish hair, like he's got threads of silver in his hair, and he's got the tattoos all over him still. And but he's also so like, he's not soft spoken, but he can be so gentle. He can be so gentle and like kind with her. And he's not like a punishment oriented dom. He's very much a like caring, and like, I want to protect and care for you and help make your life better. And I just, all the warmth and cuddles in this one, like, so much. So this book just really worked for me. It really touched me, and I definitely want to find more Hermione and Sirius smut. Like, I mean, fic. Freudian slip there. Oopsie. All right, next we have one of my favorite books of the year for sure. For sure. And that's Brutal Vows by J.T. Geisinger. I've already did my reread of this for the year too, so I'm very excited. But this is the 4th book and the final book in the Queens and Monsters. It's the only book in it that came out this year, so it's no surprise that it ended up on this list for me. But this one is one of the like slower burns that she's done, because Spider, aka Homer Quinn, is supposed to be marrying our heroine's niece, Lily, in an arrangement between the Irish mafia led by Daddy Declan and the Italian mafia, which one of the capos is Raina's brother. And Raina is a widow. She's been a widow for a while. She had a horrible ex-husband. She was very abused by him. She has no plans of ever marrying again. And she lives in her brother's home with her mother and her niece Lily. And she just, like, she's not a shell of a person, but she's just very guarded and very, like, cut off from just so much. I don't know another way to put it. But she really gets feisty in the beginning because her niece Lily is being given in this arrangement, and she really doesn't want her niece to have to be married off so young. And her brother's like, well, you can have a say in who she marries. And she's like, yeah, but I wanted her to get to go to college first. And he's like, you knew that wasn't going to happen. So there's lots of this. Quinn, he has been kind of hurt by some things that happened in the previous book, and so he's been burned. He's been burned more than once in his life, for sure. He definitely has. But he's pretty jaded, and so he agreed to be the person to do this marriage since, you know, Declan is happily married and not available to do this arrangement. And when he meets Raina, he is very drawn to her. He calls her a wee viper, and he's just kind of wowed by her. He thinks she's so beautiful, and he loves her sass and everything. But he's supposed to marry Lily. He's supposed to marry Lily, this quiet and kind young girl who is definitely in love with somebody else and just terrified by this marriage. But he's going to do his duty. He's going to do his duty, and it's going to be great. But Raina has something to say about if that's going to happen. So why this is on my best spice of the year. Not only is it J.T. Geisinger, and she can write some dirty, good shit. Okay, she sure can. But this is a, like, sexual healing type of book for sure. Like, Raina was only ever abused in her sexual relationship with her husband. She, you know, she's just her and her vibrators and her romantic books, okay, her smutty books. She doesn't have time for this, and she really doesn't have time for this Irish gangster who wants to take her sweet niece away and will probably just crush her spirit. And so she's given this dude a tough time. But Spider, he is not going to be deterred, and he just gets more and more drawn in by this woman. And when things play out, and when the sexual relationship between them finally begins, Spider is very aware. Well, he becomes aware of the things that she's been through, and he is so reverent of his queen. He is so just in awe of her and feels like such a filthy no good, like he isn't even worthy of the treasure he has in his hands. And that does shit to me. Okay, that does shit to me. Also, they do role play together. Also, Raina is cognizant of how much she loves when he praises her, and she sees how hot it gets him when she praises him. So this book has mutual praise kink, y'all. It definitely does. And Spider loses his mind when his queen calls him a good boy, okay? Okay, she doesn't quite, I don't think she really says, like, good boy in this, but there is praise kink in here, and Spider is the one who likes it, okay? And it's great. And again, also, role-playing, it's fantastic. Like, these two are delicious. I love them. I love them. But for me, and I know not everyone feels this about JT, some think that it's just gratuitous smut in her books. But for me, she builds the connection, and when they fall for each other, yes, lust is a part of it. It's a part of it. But they get to the heart of their partners in this just a gut-wrenching way. Like, it's amazing. All right. Then we have another one that's on my favorites list of the year, and that is Give Me More by Sarah Kate. This was book 3 in her Salacious Players Club, and this one is a menage. There is a married couple that is, I believe it's Hunter and Isabel. Let me just double check. Drake. Nope. Drake is the one dude. Yeah. Hunter and Isabel are a married couple, and Drake is their friend. And Drake is bisexual. And Hunter and Isabel, they've been together for quite a while. And the three of them end up going on a road trip to other kink and sex clubs to get ideas and to learn from other establishments. And also try to find some people who would be willing to come and do demonstrations to like teach different kinky things at the club. And this is an exploration. And Hunter gets it in his head that he would be really turned on by Drake and his wife together. And Drake is both Drake and Isabel are very confused by him asking this. Like, Isabel is like, do we have a problem in our marriage that you want me to fuck someone else? Like, I don't understand. And Drake is like, I would never get in the middle of this. That sounds like a horrible idea. Because what happens when you're done with me and then I lose the best relationships in my life? Because he's genuinely best friends with both Hunter and Isabel. And what really this book for me is about, because Drake and Isabel, they become very okay with this arrangement. Like, they do. It takes a while. But Drake, he isn't just hot for Isabel. Like, he has a long-standing flame for Hunter. And he knows that when this is first asked, like, he doesn't get to touch Hunter. He can only touch Isabel. And for him, that breaks him a little bit every time that he can't be there. And also he's like, are you really making room for me in your marriage, or am I just a toy because you want to try out a fantasy and you know you can trust me, and that's not fair to me? So there's so many interesting issues that get brought up, and I think Sarah Kate does such a great job of like, yeah, making this hot when they're experimenting together, but also being clear like what the weight this is, you know, on them, that like you can't just invite someone into your marriage and then kick them out when it's done, you know, like, what are you doing with this? And for Hunter, he has a lot of internalized homophobia, and that was literally like beaten into him by his father. So he very much has oppressed any attraction or feelings he might have had towards men at all. He doesn't even know what his life would have been like if he didn't. And so as like the desire builds and as they start to, you know, try other things, the three of them, Hunter really has to come to grips with what he's okay with. And so there are some sex scenes in here that are such like healing moments, and some of them just have you on the edge of your seat because you're like, is Hunter okay with what's happening? Like, can he handle this? Like, is he going to reject them afterwards? Will he feel embarrassed? Like, there is so much, and I think that the weight is really put onto that, and I really love how all three of them handle it. It's really beautiful. Then I have Tareen by Amara Ray, which sadly has been the last book released in this, what's supposed to be a 6-book series, because Amazon kind of locked out Amara Ray from releasing Necrosis, which has made me sad. People have asked, I have tried to get in contact with Amara, and I haven't heard back. I don't know if she's needed like a mental health break from this or what's happened, but I'm very sad about it. But still, she has 5 other books out in this series so far, so we will be hopeful for those. But this book is my favorite one that I've read in the series, and though it isn't the spiciest, it had my favorite spice in this. So all of these books are fated mates. This one is about Cassandra, who is part shifter, and Raziel, who is a demon prince, and he has a mission. He is supposed to use his mate, who he does know is Cassandra, and use their bond to do a certain task. And he also wants her as his mate, like he absolutely does, but them bonding involves sex. And Cassandra, because of something that Raziel helps with, she trades spending a certain amount of time with him in the demon realm and letting him have sex with her. But he doesn't know the level of trauma she's had. She did not divulge to him what she'd been through before she agreed. So when she shows up and he shows up to her room and is going to fuck her, he very quickly pumps the brakes immediately, because he goes to touch her and he knows what that glassy-eyed look is and what that shutting her brain off is, because he himself has also been molested before. And so he's like, shit, I can't just use my sexual prowess and make her like this and let it be a great time for us, because I would be, even though she's agreed to this, she doesn't realize the cost of what's happened to her. And he just refuses to do that to his mate at any cost. So he needs to go about winning her trust so that they can have a mutually engaging sexual experience, but also he's going to need to betray her to complete his mission. So he's in this pickle where he wants to help his mate heal so that they can have a fulfilling relationship, but he also knows that he might hurt her quite a bit. And that would be just the worst thing if he helps build her up so she's comfortable with this and then breaks her. And so why this has the best spice for me is that this is actually the least spicy book in the series. But the connection between Cassandra and Raziel, the way he builds trust, the way he helps her have control, the way he lets her have a say in that, even though she's kind of also like sold her time to him, was so beautiful. Like, oh my God, it was so beautiful. Like, it broke my heart in a beautiful way. And there was a sex scene that I cried so hard in, and that's a big sign to me if it's working for me, okay? Because I was reading it and all of a sudden I was like, why can't I see my Kindle? And it's because I was crying. And that's when you know it's a good time. So then the last ones I want to mention in this, and it's perfect because my lighting is about to get real wonky here, is His Pretty Little Burden and His Pretty Little Queen by Nikki Harris. So this is like a duet within a series of the kids of the district, which I do need to read the rest of these. I've actually only read these two. But this duet is amazing, and it's an age gap. It's kind of taboo scenario, and it starts with this young pregnant woman who she is trying to get in contact with her father, who is a part of the mafia. She doesn't know that. She's also been through quite a few traumatic events, which I won't go into all of those, but she brings herself to Clay, who she hears knows her father. Well, sure, he knows her father, but it's because they're enemies, and she doesn't know that. But she wants to get in contact with her father because she wants her father to take her baby when she has it. She doesn't feel capable enough to be a mother, but she also doesn't want to give her baby like up, and she feels like her father would want a connection with his grandchild. Not sure why she thinks that, since she doesn't know her father at all. Like, she doesn't know him. And Clay, who again is enemies with her father, decides this is the perfect bait for me to get a hold of my enemy and to cause him a lot of anguish. So he takes her in almost like a ward and kind of sort of makes her a prisoner, but not really. And then also very quickly he is drawn to her sexually because she's very young and beautiful and naturally submissive. He figures that out right away. And the thing is, Clay is actually married, but his wife is like his best friend, and she is a lesbian. Not bisexual, a lesbian. They have never had sex. They have shared a woman before. They've actually shared a mistress before, who would be with both of them at different times. But it's all political, and actually because his wife isn't allowed to run her own enterprise because she's a woman, he has married her. They have this alliance, and they're friends. They're very dear friends. And so this was a very interesting setup for me because it never feels like cheating at all. And in fact, like, this isn't the wife secretly has feelings for him or is trying to hurt. Like, she actively tries to help him in his relationship with fawn, which I loved. And so this one has a lot of very exploratory sex, but this also has a lot of healing, because trigger warning in this duet, the child that our heroine is pregnant with in the beginning is not the child she's pregnant with at the end. We'll just say that. I'll just go ahead and say it. There is a pregnancy loss in here. There is a rediscovering of trauma. Our heroine had blocked out some events that had happened to her, and they unfortunately come back. But our hero's dominant and submissive relationship that they're in is a big part of her healing process for both of them. And you know, as I've said in this video multiple times, that really gets at my heart and really, it brings the spice to another level, because it's not just us physically doing it. It is connecting on all these other levels and planes, and I love that. So there you go. Those are some books with my favorite spice for the year. I can at another point make the raunchiest spicy books that I've read, but I don't want to be known only for recommending the spiciest around. You know, like I made a rec list recently of low steam books that I actually love, and like, I love reading very sexy things. I definitely do. It's one of my favorite things in romance. I like it real naughty. But that isn't my purpose of reading romance. It's not. It's people connecting. And I like the sex in books because, to me, that's us connecting in the most intimate, fulfilling way possible. So yeah. Anyway, thank you to my channel members for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to support me here, I do this full time, and I could always use the help in keeping the, keeping the car running, keeping the heat going. So definitely check out ways you can support me down below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.